Hello everyone. In this section, we will study the different types of business activities. So, if we'll say that what is business activities can be classified into two further parts. That is, the very first is industries and the next is commerce. Business further is a combination of industries and commerce. So, in this section, we will try to study the different elements of industries or the different types of industries. So the very first industry, first of all we should understand what is industry. Industry is a place where the raw material or the raw material under process went on to get converted into finished product. Industry is the place which creates lots of utility. So the creation of utility take place in the industries. So industries can be also divided into different parts. There are different types of industry. On the major basis, there are three types of industries, that is primary industry, secondary industry and tertiary industry. Primary industry. Primary industry is related with agricultural product, the product which we get from Mother Earth. It's known as primary industry. So there are further two divisions of primary industry or agricultural industry. Those are extractive industries and genetic industries. Extractive industries. Extractive industries are those industries in which one extracts something from Mother Earth. When someone takes something from Mother Earth, some minerals or something, some material from the Mother Earth or from the nature, that is known as extractive industries. Very good. Or few examples are like coal industry. We take coal from the example comprises in the extractive industry. And there are lots of examples like fishing, hunting. All these are the examples of extractive industries. Moving further, the next type of primary industry is genetic industry. As the name suggests, it is totally a biological term. Genetic industries refers to the industry which deals with rearing and breeding of species and animals. So, for what do you mean by rearing and breeding? That means reproduction of animals. For example, under this comes farming, cattle breeding, poultry farming, fish hatching, etc. There are lots of examples of it. So, the basic difference between the primary industry, between the types of primary industry and in the genetic industry and extractive industry is that in genetic industry, one indulge in the process of rearing and breeding of animals and other species, but in the extractive industry we just simply take out the material, we simply take out the things from the Mother Earth. So one very nice example I am giving you, that if we're talking about the fishing, if we are taking fish from the pond, which we are extracting fish from the pond, it will lie in the extractive industry. But if we are multiplying fish, now what do you mean by multiplying? Simply reproduction of fishes. If we are indulged in the business which simply increases the population of fish inside the pond, that will be known as genetic industry. So I hope this simple example is clear. So only by clearing the doubts, only by clearing the concepts, one can differentiate between extractive industry and genetic industry, as both are the part of primary industry. So we have completed the first type of industry is primary industry, which is related to agriculture and allied activities. Then the second industry is secondary industry. Secondary industries is also known as manufacturing industries. Manufacturing industries refers to the place where, again, it's a kind of the factories where the raw materials get processed and converted into finished good by creating the utility regarding the product. So again, there are lots of examples. Secondary industry comprises two more type of industry. The very first is manufacturing industries and constructive industries. What is manufacturing industry? Manufacturing industry, as I told you the definition of secondary industry, the same is the definition of manufacturing industry. The industry where manufacturing take place. Manufacturing refers to the successive stages of production underlying the raw material and then convert it into the finished good. And then the thing comes, what can we divide manufacturing industries into different parts? Yes, we can divide it. So there are further 4 more types of industries, manufacturing industries. The very first is analytical industries. Analytical industries refers to, what do you mean by analysis? If I am saying that student analysis take place when the examination goes on, that means a teacher identify whether a student got first rank, second rank or third rank, or he just got passed in the examination, so on. So analysis refers to keeping one material and analyzing it and extracting the different parts from it. For example, one raw material under this analytical industry, for example, it's a very nice example, crude oil. So analytical industry takes one simple raw material, and through that raw material there are different sub materials which we get. From crude oil we get lots other sub materials or sub elements of crude oil. For example, petroleum, for example grease, for example kerosene oil, petroleum jelly. There are lots of the things. So we are taking just a simple raw material and then we are analyzing it. So this comes under the analytical industry. So this is the first type of manufacturing industry, that is analytical industry. The next is synthetical industries. Synthetical industries refers to the industry where all the raw materials are synthetic, not natural in nature. For example, paint industry, soap industry. I mean, it combine 2 or 3 more raw material and then the finished goods come up, and then the finished good take into the structure. Yeah, comes into in the structure. So this is the thing. Then the next is processing industry. Processing industry, as the name suggests, under this industry successive processes or successive stages of production must be there, and in these successive stages of production only then we can go further with the under the raw material, and when we get the raw material. So for example, sugar industry. Sugar industry is a type of processing industry. From sugar cane we get sugar in India, but in other country there are other sources also of sugars. So in the sugar cane, first of all the first process is to make the juice, and then the second process is to clean the juice, and then the next is to put it in the hot boilers and then boil it, and then there are lots of processes. And then after undergoing the raw material, that is sugar juice, that's the sugar cane juice. So the sugar cane juice undergoes with a different process and then it comes up. So if the raw material went off into the different types of industries or different processes, that will be termed as a processing industry. And the last one is analytical industry. It's assembling industry. We have completed analytical. Assembling industries refers to the industry where different raw materials as treated. The industries, the raw material, the finished good of other industry will be treated as a raw material of this assembling industry. So under assembling industry there are different materials, only they are combined and then a new thing comes up. For example, computer. If we talk about computer, there are motherboard, there are mouse, there are keyboards, lots of the things, and which computer industry take all the different types of things and then it assemble, and then the results come like a PC or a computer. Similar with the car industries, similar with the mobile industry. So they all are the examples of TV industry, all are the examples of assembling industry. So once again I am going to repeat is manufacturing industry comprises 4 industries. The very first is analytical industry, synthetical industries, processing industries and assembling industries. So this comes manufacturing industry. Under the secondary industry, the very first was manufacturing industry, then the next is constructive industry. As I told you, constructive industry, these industries are indulged in the constructive processes. For example, construction of bridges, dams, and all the infrastructural companies comes under the constructive industries. Okay, so the next part we have completed primary industries, we have completed secondary industry. Comes the third part, that is tertiary industry. Tertiary industry is related to the service industry. Okay, what is service? Service you cannot touch, only you can feel the service. Now these are the different, there are different examples of tertiary industries. Tertiary industry involves, for example, advertising industries, warehousing industries. Warehouses are the places where the store goods are kept. I mean the storage house, and the goods, the finished goods or the raw materials, these can be kept somewhere. So this is warehouse. And the next one is insurance company. There are lots of companies. So the clear-cut understanding can be developed only by knowing service industry is also known as tertiary industry. What other things tertiary industry do? Tertiary industry helps primary industry and secondary industry in different forms. Say for example, transportation. Transportation comes under the tertiary industry, but it helps primary industry as well as secondary industry in different and in many ways. That I should not explain, you all know this very well, how transportation helps farmers also. I mean the secondary industry people also, how it works out. So in this section, in this video, we have studied different types of industries. Once again, primary industry, secondary industry and tertiary industry. There are two types of primary industries: extractive industries, genetic industries. There are again two types of secondary industry, that is manufacturing industries and constructive industries. And the third one is tertiary industry, which is related to service sector. Hope you like this video and we'll soon meet. Thank you.